sim racing is all about precision. But do you really know where you're losing time? Your braking, throttle control, and racing line. Every detail matters. But without the right data, you're just guessing. This is where Race Data gives you the edge. Instantly analyze your lap data, see exactly where you're losing time, and make real improvements. Know your weaknesses, fix them, get faster. Stop guessing, start improving. Try Race Data today.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Nürburgring for round number 2 of the Radical Sim Racing European Championship, live on RaceSpotTV. After the opening round at Long Beach, we're very much looking forward to a bit more of an open Grand Prix circuit here this time around. And following on from RaceSpotTV's Radical E-Cup broadcast on Friday night that I was at, I'm very much looking forward, I've got to say, to the racing we're going to see tonight. It's myself, Ian O'Leary and J.R. Gregory with you for the second round of this championship. It's a very different circuit, JL, than what we had at Long Beach in the opening round, but the officials this week have shown us we're in for a treat here tonight.
Yeah, without a doubt. And of course, whenever Nürburgring is brought up, people's minds immediately go to the green hell. But this Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit is no slouch at all. About 40 years of history out here, about 20 Formula One races during that time. And these F1 courses have been popping up with a little bit more regularity on the Radical Esports Cup public schedule, and for good reason. They really put on some great racing, and the cars are really well suited to it. A lot of mechanical grip and significant aero that helps them through a lot of these high-speed sweepers. So really looking forward to seeing these cars go to war out here.
Of course, we already know that the first half of the calendar anyway, and as you can see, a couple of Grand Prix circuits in there as well here tonight, and in 3 weeks' time as well at Suzuka we'll be on a Grand Prix circuit as well. But we've got those alternative ones as well. The small British racing track of Alton Park is round number 4, followed by Bathurst, which is on a lot of Radical calendars, I've got to say, on week 5. In the opening round of the season, as I say, we had a fantastic race, and in the end we'll get some highlights in a few moments time. But what they're fighting for, just to show you first of all, is of course on your screen at the moment in both the European and the Americas Championship. I'll explain a little bit more on that in a few moments. But the drivers champion in each class gets a 12 months free iRacing subscription, as well as entry to the 26th season, and qualifies for the World Finals at the end of the year, as will actually the top 7 in the class, all qualifying for the World Finals. Second in class, though, gets a free entry for next season as well. The last chance World Finals qualifier as well will be available for the next 7. So as the team's champions, receiving a track per driver in iRacing, and free entry next season, as will the vice champions in the teams get as well. As I say, in the opening round at Long Beach, it was Christopher Terrain who took the opening round, and 105 points that comes with it as well. Christoph Lipp got past Tove Gulliksen actually at the end to finish second, with Oscar Soltero jumping up to 4th. Lassie Sorensen rounded out the top 5, with Kim Andre Björklund in 6th place. Sebastian Lipp, maybe surprisingly, in 7th place. Kjell Larsen, Anthony Engel Lendorf and Jorge Gonzaga rounded out the top 10. In the AM standings, it was Luke Crowley who took the win, and by quite a few positions as well, ahead of Eric Benson. Gabriel Berger was 3rd, ahead of Louis Gregg, and then Davide Tattari, who was on the same points actually as Mika Henrik Hulken. Then Henry Hollings, who's 7th, ahead of Robert Walker, David Ralston, and Menno de Graaf, rounding out the top 10. As I mentioned, we have just seen the results effectively of Long Beach. This is how it all went down. If we looked at all the highlights, we'd be here all day. So Here are a few of them, starting with the race start, and Christopher Turenne immediately taking the lead on the opening lap of the race on that relatively long run down, actually, in towards turn number 1, something you do have to worry about at the Nürburgring as well. Turenne took that lead through the opening corner, and it was single file through the leaders. Actually, a very clean start throughout the field, which is fantastic to see, because for the racing we were going to see later on, we were going to need the cars to be still healthy and actually on the circuit, which is certainly a good thing we got from the opening round at Long Beach. Further on in the race, we saw the late pit stops of the likes of Oscar Soltero. The great thing about this series is that there are 2 stops, and one of them can be really short. That really helped Oscar Soltero on the day. He managed to get up into 4th place after this pit stop here, and that is where he would finish in the end. Meanwhile, on the last lap, side by side between Christoph Lipp and Havard Gulliksen, that was Gulliksen ending up in the outside wall and getting the lights flashed as well. Christoph Lipp accepted responsibility for that post-race. There was a racing incident called by the stewards and no further action taken. Out front though, Christopher Turenne took the opening race victory by 12 seconds in the end, with a combination of good strategy but mostly good speed at the front of the race. He got that clean air early and he took the win as a result. About half a minute back, Luke Crowley took a pretty dominant win in the AMS as well, and you noticed his big points lead at the end of the opening race. This is an overall points-based system, not a class-based system, and so Luke Crowley was able to utilise the fact he had 4 drivers between him and his nearest rival to take a big points lead into today with that opening race victory. It was a good race at Long Beach. There were only a bit of a taste of the highlights, but a good indication of what we're going to see here today. Obviously good side-by-side racing, that's a given, but the pit stop, especially from Oscar Soltero, was able to make that work so well last time out. See how he can make that work this time in the second round of the season.
Yeah, fuel strategy, definitely interesting here, and it is a mandatory double stopper. I was poking around in the fuel numbers a little bit this morning, and it looked as if a one stopper might be within reach, but that is against the rules, and the race series organizers would have the opportunity or the option to issue a DQ on that. So we will be seeing 2 pit stops from everybody, but they're going to start the race here, Ewan, with a 20-liter fuel load. We're looking at about 32 laps and 66 liters required. They can fill up to 40. So if I can make that a little more confusing for you, the pit window is going to open immediately on the first lap for your first stop if you just want to go in and get that out of the way. And we may see some people do that. If you don't qualify well, if you have an incident early and you're behind slow traffic, the undercut may be a way to get out of early trouble here. So that pit window will open right away. We'll keep an eye on how they elect to do those pit stops, but there is going to be some strategy taking place as we saw last week in California.
Absolutely. It was, I feel, more important actually at Long Beach when we were at that circuit, but it will still be important here. As I mentioned, we were broadcasting here on Friday night, or I was anyway, here. It was on RaceSpotTV at just evening time in Europe, and I've got to say it was a fantastic race. And you mentioned that the pit strategy can be used to get out of traffic, especially if you've had a bad qualifying, and that is all true, but I just wonder whether some of these drivers a bit more this time round than at Long Beach are going to fancy their chances at overtaking on the circuit rather than using that pit stop, because as you say, it is a good option to come in immediately. You can do it coming in immediately, but it does rather narrow your strategy options later. That effectively means your second stop is set in stone right from the very beginning, whereas if you do a few more laps, you can play around with it a little bit more. I wonder whether we will get some more drivers just playing with it a bit more this time round, because it is easier to overtake at Nürburgring than it was at Long Beach.
Yeah, too true. And I gotta say, commenting on overtaking, first I gotta commend the drivers for choosing this particular layout. There's a couple layouts at this track, and they have chosen the WEC layout. As we ride along with Jorge Gonzaga right here, look at him sticking through this high-speed chicane right there. The other chicane is one of those slow, soul-crushing, autocross kind of slowdowns, weaving through the cones, but not this one, folks. You brush the brakes, drop it into 4th gear, and just drop it right through, threading the needle between those 2 brutal and iconic cut curbs there. And you and I watched that race on Friday, and I would have thought that a pass on the entry to that final chicane was a non-starter. But as you know, we saw a huge move there toward the end of the race for the win, contested entry into that chicane. I could not believe it was possible, but it was. So I'll be curious to see if anyone rolls the dice on that crazy move here today.
Yeah, certainly. Here's French Sikorsky, meanwhile. Second appearance on RaceSpotTV in a matter of about 5 or 6 days. It's featured earlier on in some GT4 machinery. And actually, I think he's in the GT3 class, actually, that series. I can't remember. I think he is in GT3. But he's featuring again, this time in the Radical SR10, as always. And he's put on a very good lap time in qualifying right now. I must say, by the way, if you are a driver in this series, maybe watching it back, then you're more than welcome to join the Zoom call and show us your setup, show us your face cam as you're driving around. Big thanks to Sikorsky, who has. Always great to see how the drivers get to work in their rigs at home. But quite apart from anything about that, this lap time so far from him has been very good. Second place for Sikorsky in the qualifying session right now, ahead of the likes of Dennis Kerekopoulos, George Gonzaga. Admittedly, we haven't got the likes of Christoph or Sebastian Lipp to set times yet, and some of the other big names as well. But even so, to be second place as an AM driver is a very strong start for him.
Yeah, Sikorsky throwing his marker down. You see that red number next to his name over on our RaceSpot timing tower, and that does indicate he is in the AM class, but he's putting on a pro drive right now. But we will be seeing our practice times got down into the low 148. So when some of these guys get out here and start putting down some heaters, Sikorsky likely to fall, and you see it happening now as those 48s are starting to pop up. But yeah, Sikorsky looking good early, and we'll certainly keep an eye on him in the amateur category.
And there you go, David Tattari has taken over that position. Well then, Eric Benson takes over the lead from him up inside the top 2 rows. That's a very good lap time from Benson. She gets ahead of Sebastian Lipp in the 33 car. Christopher Train got to 3rd place. Lasse Sorensen, but nobody could get past Gulliksen on that lap there. We've got Sully Rattinen as well, inside the top 6. He's been doing well in the officials so far this week, by the way, in terms of the point score at the Nürburgring, so surely he'll be able to go well around here as well. Still Luke Crowley yet to set a time, the AM winner from Long Beach, one of 3 drivers who hasn't set the time just yet. Stefan Mellis is another of them, and David Niemiec as well has yet to set the time either. We'll see whether they actually do decide to qualify or not, with only 3 minutes to go and not that long to go in the session at all. It's a near 2-minute lap time round here. You don't have all the time in the world. There's Tattari just missing the apex slightly of the right-hander, and onto the long straight towards that fast chicane you were talking about. It's real commitment in qualifying and real difficult in the race for side-by-side racing, but I'd imagine some 2 drivers are going to try it at some point in the race.
Yeah, fantastic camera work there, and it is such a thrill to nail that corner, man. I mean, it's high risk, high reward. The car kind of drifts through there with those danger bumps on either side. You hit one of those cut curves, and you'll launch that radical into a low Earth orbit, and you slide it right out to the edge of the track. There's a lot of high risk, high reward areas here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, and that is certainly one of them. And in that ride along a moment ago, we saw another one of them, the Schumacher S's there. You saw that driver start that sequence up on the curb on the left side, and we're going to see it right here. Oh no, we're back to the chicane. But high risk, high reward. You got to use the curb on entry and on exit, and these radicals don't really like bouncing over those curbs. They don't like when the splitter lifts up off the track and breaks the aero seal. So on every lap, these drivers are going to be taking that risk. We might see some incidents there, and just one of the thrilling, exciting parts of doing laps around this track. I'm really looking forward to how this unfolds.
Well, Christoph Lipp last time round managed to take the fastest lap, and the battle for second is even more interesting. They're tied on time, Havert Gulliksen and Lasse Sorensen now. That meant that Sorensen did improve, but only managed to tie now with Gulliksen. who is pretty much towards the end of the lap as well right now. Christoph Lipp is going to be first of those contenders inside the top 4. Then it's going to be Gulliksen. So, and the lap time, by the way, at the moment from Christoph Lipp is looking very good. This could be another improvement from Christoph Lipp in the number 1 car. He did have his work cut out in terms of making overtakes at Long Beach, but he was able to finally do it and end up in second place. He might just put this one out of distance here now as he makes his way up towards the line, with Gulliksen not too far behind. There's only seconds remaining. Lipp crosses the line and does improve. There you go. 48.4 from him. Gulliksen also over the line. He does not improve, but Christopher Train does. 1/10 of a second behind Christoph Lipp. Lasse Sorensen is just coming over the line right now as well in the number 80 car. He's 4th place. Can he maybe go to the top? I'm not sure the sector times are trending the right way for him right now. And indeed, they are not. James Barry comes up to join them from 5th. Oscar Soltero into 6th place to join them as well. We've very much got a top 6 there of big names who have gotten good lap times there in that qualifying session.
Yeah, too right. And look at those repeat offenders up front. If you watch Long Beach, those names will be familiar to you. The already iconic moment, a little contact between Lipp and Gulliksen there at the end. Tavarin kind of drove away there at Long Beach, but you see them on the provincial podium right now, podium start positions anyway, and looking forward to some more scrapping at the pointy end of the field.
Here's Christoph Lipp, who takes the pole position ahead of 3 teammates. Christopher Terrain, Havard Gulliksen and Lasse Sorensen. Andreas Friedrich and James Barry, also teammates, sharing row 3. Oscar Soltero is ahead of the AM pole sitter Eric Benson. French Sikorsky just in behind him, with Sebastian Lipp down in 10th. Ivan Bremer's next ahead of Mats Gerfström-Backen in 12th position. It's Sully Rattanen down in 13th. He might be a bit disappointed with that, with Anthony Lendorf in 14th. Davide Tattari is 3rd in the AMS, 15th overall. And to George Gonzaga with Luke Crowley and Rudolf Nagel rounding out the first 9 rows. Then the first driver outside of a second of pole, it's Marcelo Otero. Dennis Kirakopoulos is 20th ahead of Christopher Otterolt, and Adam Locke, Louis Gregg and Mika Henrik Hulkonen are on row 12. Stefano Tiveria is next ahead of Robert Walker, with David Ralston and Henry Hawlings on row 14. Glenn Andre Christensen and Menno de Graaf round out the top 30, with the first driver over 2 seconds off pole, Nunzino Pellegrino. Ole Gunnar Strensrud is alongside him with Guy Robertson and Stefan Mellis rounding out the field. You see a relatively big field spread, but it is a relatively long lap round here. So they certainly can be forgiven for that. Just approaching 11 o'clock in the morning here on the 1st of April virtual standard time. That gives us 22 degrees out there on the circuit. You'd expect that to get warmer throughout the day, and it shouldn't be a huge problem for these tyres. The lights soon to come on, and the second round of the Radical SimRacing European Championship is going to get underway. Christoph Lipp with the pole position, getting off to a good start on the outside line, and I'm afraid on the inside, Travain, the race one winner, didn't really get off to that good start. It's Gulliksen looking round the outside of him as Travain breaks late on the inside line. Lipp will hold him off in towards turn number 1, and he'll retain the lead through the Mercedes arena, and the battle will be for second place. Travain will prevail in that one. Gulliksen will get 3rd ahead of Sorensen next. I'm afraid for Oscar Soltero, it's not gone quite so well. He spun round at turn 2.
Yeah, cloud of smoke there in the background. The leader's getting through clean, but there may have been some contact. We'll take a look back at that for you. And Lipp had his work cut out for him on that start. Oh, and there's another problem there developing. I don't know who the slow car is there, but a couple cars going evasive and no contact there, fortunately. But Lipp had his work cut out for him entering turn 1 from the outside. Massive pressure from Tavarin and managed to hold him off through turn 2. And now he's driving away. Look at that gap already, Ewan. It's up to 0.4 as Lipp has lit the wick early.
Well, Robert Walker and Davide Tattari, by the way, have both lost positions themselves. I'm not sure whether they were the ones involved in turn 4 or even turn 2, actually. But they have certainly dropped positions early on. But I'm glad to say we've got all 35 still running. Lasse Sorensen may have got a slowdown there. Oh, no, he's off the circuit. Well, what is he doing? He's all over the place at the moment. 8th place now after running inside the top 5 very comfortably. Eric Benson is going to come through on him very quickly here as they go through the kink at turn 13. First bit of side-by-side on the way towards the chicane. This is the longest straight on the circuit, I suppose, if you discount turn 13 because it's not really a corner. Sorensen is overtaken. and for whatever reason drops down to 9th. I feel like that may have started with a slowdown, but when we saw him, he dropped off the circuit.
Yeah, Sorensen had some kind of problem there. We saw him coming out of a cloud of dirt on the outfield and may have gotten a little loose coming out of those Schumacher S's. Very tough stuff right there. The car is unsettled on exit, and you got to get it woed up for the left-hander that follows, and there's a little inside move there. We're going to see a lot of contested entries there into turn 1, and Sorensen's day going from bad to worse, falling to P10 already here, and we'll see if we can come up with a replay for you on that earlier incident. There's somebody going off there as we ride along with Sorensen, and things a little messy here early, and holy cow.
Yeah, that's Benson going backwards. We'll get some replays on lap 1 in a few moments' time. There's Sebastian Lipp having a look on Benson and can't get through. Lipp's lost a place here, Sebastian Lipp. He's down to 11th so far in this race. Sully Rattanen just in behind him, and that's a couple of places gained for him, but you'd expected him to qualify way better than he has done in this race, since he has been going very, very well this week in officials. Out of Tunlock Corner, this is what happened out front. Soltero, he gets loose initially, then makes the side-to-side contact and spins around. He actually does a good job of doing a full 360, getting back points in the right direction again. This looks like, this is Tatari, not Walker. He just drops it on the exit of turn 4. So traction issues there, and he was smacked by somebody. That may have done a bit of damage.
Yeah, a hard hit there, and these radicals are pretty tough, but you get a hard hit right on the suspension like that, he could be in need of repairs. And we talked, and there's another, speaking of repairs, that car may not be tracking right for Tatari. He has been in the pits also, and so we talked about the pit window being open. There's another car going in. That is Sorensen, and, I talked about it. If you get jammed up, get out of position, and don't want to fight on course, an option that you have is to get in, fuel up, get one of those pit stops out of the way, and enjoy some clear air and try to work an undercut here. So we'll keep an eye on Sorensen and see if that is going to be successful for him.
I think it's a good call, personally. I think it's a good way to get that out of the way now, although, as I mentioned earlier, it does rather shorten your options later if you know how much fuel you have to put in, as you were describing earlier on. You can't do that all in one tank quite. Even if you ran the tank absolutely dry, you still have a very short stop to go at the very end. That's kind of what Soltero did at Long Beach, by the way. Not quite, but he did a version of that and had a very short final stop to get himself up to 4th. He'd do well to get back to 4th from the start he's had so far here today, though, as we go back to the midfield. There aren't very many gaps above a second right now, I've got to say, especially when you get outside the top 10 from Sebastian Lipp right the way down. It is close, right the way down to 25th, actually. Lipp is 9th for reference. All the way down to 25th, that's 17 cars. There are gaps less than a second across the board. Now, sometimes that helps with overtaking. They're all in one long line. Sometimes it gives you the slipstream, which makes the driver behind you less likely to overtake you. They're about to all pass Imre Prema, though, who's gone off down there at turn 11.
Yeah, really messy here early. It's a little bit surprising, and we are seeing these cars train up a little bit whenever we have these radicals on a course with any kind of straightaway. The slipstream, very powerful with these cars, so if you can stay within 0.7, 0.8 of the car ahead, and there's a replay of that spin. My goodness, on the power a little early, and there's a couple spots like that on this course where patience is required. A long, constant radius corner, you have to time it right to get on the power, but if you get on the power a little too early, you can swap ends, as we saw there.
Rudolf Nagel is in to pit lane after only 3 laps. So a number of drivers deciding that the early stop this time round is the one to take. He is the 6th driver to be in already here, by the way. That is a very, very short opening run for a lot of these drivers, and they've taken pretty long stops as well. The shortest of them so far from Tatari, 35 seconds spent in the pit lane at least. That's not their stop time, that's their total lane time for the race. This is Eric Benson still at the front of the group because Sebastian Lipp's getting away. Sully Rattanen right in behind, and this is a good start from Rattanen, already inside the top 10, only 3 laps into the race.
Yeah, right, and doing well here. And yeah, those pit stops popping up early. And I kind of figured if people got in trouble, they would take advantage of giving themselves some clear air and getting that pit stop out of the way. That first 20 liters of fuel is only good for about 9 or 10 laps. So the pit cycles are starting, and we're going to see the rest of these cars coming in before too much longer, just due to the math of having a very short tank coming off the grid.
This is way further down in the pack for 22nd, where Menno de Graaf is making progress. He's at the front end of the group, and for whatever reason, Glenn-Andre Christensen is going backwards in the field and will get past into 23rd again. Just past Ole Gunnar Strensrud. Qualified around here as well, but that's a pretty easy pass all in all. Christoph Lipp is leading by 2 seconds out front, and he's only been extending that as well. Another 7 tenths put into Christopher Terrain last time around. As meanwhile, Sully Reitinen does get through on the inside of Eric Benson. He'll hold the inside for turns 2 and 3. And there's another place. He's gained effectively 1 position per lap at the moment, and now he's into 9th.
Yeah, right, and getting in a good rhythm. And up front, my goodness, Christoph Lipp, looking at his fast lap, is 7 tenths ahead of Tavarin. So he has thrown down the gauntlet. He is driving off here. And unless something happens with traffic, Lipp making a pretty serious error, or Tavarin finding some more speed somewhere, this is going to turn into a track day for Lipp, with only 10 minutes, less than 10, actually, into this one.
This is on board with Gerd Strombakken in towards the hairpin. He's got Luke Crowley right behind him, by the way, who I mentioned in qualifying didn't set a lap time very early on, but he eventually got round to it. Not sure what was taking him so long, whether it was an off-track problem or whether he left it late to leave the pit lane. But he's 3rd in the class right now. Helped a little bit, I suppose. He's certainly got 1 place from Davide Tartari going off on lap 1. And he's right behind us here on board with number 90. Out of turn 12. It's a decent exit, actually, from Gerd Strombakken in towards the fast chicane. Is he going to be close? He doesn't look like he's shaping to go through. And he's taken the patient option.
Yeah, patience being the better part of your virtue here with 50 minutes remaining. But some great camera work riding along with Strombakken and showing what you have to do to maximize that Schumacher S there, using all the curbs, using all the track, all the way through there. And it is a little nerve-wracking when that radical starts bouncing around underneath you. And here's maybe a little peek inside as Reitinen continues his assault up the field. See if he can get this one done. Looks like he's going to get it. Well, I spoke too soon. It was some good braking on the outside. Reitinen is denied there. It looked like he had it, and now he might lose another position there as the big fight going on here around P9. Really good stuff today.
Well, this is actually for 15th place. Adam Locke's holding on to this position. That's Oscar Soltero, who's tearing through this field because he's coming back from his spin earlier. Christopher Otterholt was the initial one trying to make the overtake, and now Soltero's the one on the aggressor. Look at this, down the inside of Adam Locke into turn 5, and now around the outside at 6. That's very impressive from Oscar Soltero, who'll be again kicking himself that he made that mistake earlier on in the day, because 10 minutes gone, he's back into 15th. Further into the back end of the group here, Otterholt is going to be overtaken, is he, by Bremer? There was a little look, and further back in the group again, Louis Gregg and David Ralston were at side by side briefly as well. Here comes Bremer now. This is going to be a chance for Bremer on Otterholt in towards the left-hander. He does get down the inside. That's a pro driver making a recovery after that spin earlier on. A pro driver on an AM driver, and that is Ivan Bremer up into 17th place.
Wow. And man, oh man, I've been covering these guys, Ewan, for a couple years in the publics. And the great thing about this group is they hang around together. They have a Discord server where they spend time, help each other improve. They practice together. They race together. And you saw the trust that results from that right there, driving side by side through that tough sequence, driving respectfully, giving space. And man, oh man, these races are super exciting. And that is the quality of driving that we see here week after week in these radicals. Fantastic stuff.
Here these two come onto pit lane. They'll be quite far down at the at the end of that pit stop, and quite far away from the leaders. We have seen a change of position, by the way, for 7th. Sebastian Lipp getting past Anthony Lendorf for that 7th place, but they are all a ways off the lead. The top 6 are the ones fighting for it, although really it's a 5-car group for 2nd place at the moment, headed by Christopher Travain. 12 minutes gone rather, and 48 still to go. We are fast approaching 1/4 distance here, and therefore 1/3 distance, not too far after that as well. And not many of the leaders have come in. We've yet to see a real contender who's going to be up there for one of the podium places at the end of the day actually pit in just yet.
Yeah, we're getting close. My notes here show that we are heading towards completion of lap 8 right now, and I think about 9 is all we're going to get. So the leader's about 2 laps away from their pit stops if they're going to run it dry. I'm expecting everybody up front to run them dry, and barring any kind of incident or mistake. So we're going to be seeing a major pit cycle here. The majority of the cars have not gone in, so we're going to see a big pit sequence in about 2 laps time.
It's just around the corner. As I guess Oscar Sotero's finding this tricky. He had passed Adam Locke. He's been repassed now into the fast chicane, and well, he probably could have done with that early stop a few laps ago, but he's now in along with Ivan Bremer from 16th and 17th position. Leader of those, by the way, who's pitted so far is Lasse Sorensen, as you'd expect. I suppose he is a podium contender, to be fair. Maybe I'm doing him a disservice there in my previous comment. Just under 47 to go. It's Christoph Lipp leading the race. And Christoph Travain, who's got a right train behind him at the moment. Havok Gullikson, Andreas Friedrich, Franz Sikorsky and James Barry all in line. And for now, Travain is doing a good job at holding the front of it. You just wonder how long this is going to last. It very much feels like this is the first stint orderly train, and the pit stop phase is going to set them apart, because as we saw at Long Beach, the first pit stop is of, well, however long they like, really. It could be real varying lengths between these 5, so we'll see who comes out second, and it could be a very different look to the front of this race.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things here. You would like to be able to react to the people around you, but you've got to set that fuel level as you're rolling in. So you could put the minimum in right now and try to get clear. You could put the maximum in and try to have a short fill later on. So many variables, and really no way to react to the cars around you, and no way to really guess what they're going to do. I guess the conservative way would be to put in, to try to split the fuel load between those 2 stops to run as light as possible for as long as possible, but we'll keep an eye on the times and see if we can deduce from that how these guys are going to approach these stops.
And none of them approaching the lane yet at all, as the gap grows again to Lipp. No, that's why it's grown, because Travain did come in and I didn't see him. So he'll be dropping down the field with that stop. In towards turn 1 for Friedrich, who is still trailing Gullikson in this 2nd place battle. Now, the stop for Lasse Sorensen was 36 seconds. That's his whole lane time, by the way, not his actual stop time. So take away quite significant time to figure out how long he's actually been stationary for. Travain, it looks like he's doing pretty much the same right now, although it's the time is ticking up, 35.5. So that is on the shorter end-ish, but not that shorter, not that much shorter. And Travain is going to be about 2 seconds in front of, oh no, sorry, more than that actually, on Sorensen. He could be quite a long way ahead of Sorensen. So it looks like with that difficult start to the race for Sorensen, I think on lap 2 where it started to unravel, that's where he's going to stay. Not really going to be contending for those top 3 positions.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate for him. And looking at these pit times, I'm not seeing a lot of variance between the times. The variance that I am seeing, probably explainable by not getting that great of an entry or not getting that great of an exit. They're all in, high 30s, low 40s. So it looks to me like these cars are all taking their full 40-liter fill at this stop. And as we're finishing up lap 9 here, or finishing up lap 10, if Lipp passes the pit entry this time, time, I'm going to throw away my fuel calculations because they ought to be out of fuel right about now. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and here they come, and kind of a last-minute move across the curb there. If there were live stewards at this one, they might take a dim view of that, but no penalties from the iRacing AI, so that is allowable here this afternoon, and the first big pit sequence is underway.
Christoph Lipp is the one to lead them all in, and I'd imagine he will take a second or so extra fuel maybe than he might have planned to, given the gap that he had over the rest, although maybe he will just stick to the plan. We will wait and find out as all of these drivers coming in. We didn't see very much of this at Long Beach. We saw everybody effectively coming in on different laps almost every time. Lipp will get out first, that is no surprise, but what's his gap going to be? He was about 12 seconds in the lane. That's one of the shorter as well. Gullikson was next, then Friedrich. Travain is going to get ahead of all of them. Barry's going to be next, ahead of Sebastian Lipp. Then Frank Sikorsky, who's taken a much longer stop. He'll actually be behind Lasse Sorensen, who's up to 7th place. But some varying pit stop times. Not much for Christoph Lipp. He spent 12 seconds in the lane, a little bit shorter than some of the others, but not Travain. Actually, he retained his margin to Lipp. But to the rest of them, he's extended his lead.
Yeah, it looks like Lipp may not have taken a complete fill, might have decided to divide the fuel load between the two ending stints like I was talking about. So he's sitting at about 36 seconds-ish total pit lane time, same with Tavarin. So Lipp wanted to keep that gap behind him, does not want to give anybody behind him a free tow. And as we get back underway after the first pit sequence, Lipp enjoying a 3.2 second gap back to Tavarin. So again, this turning into a track day for Lipp, and really the only tension here is he going to encounter lap traffic before this hour is done?
Well, that is very likely, I would say, given we've already had a couple of drivers who have dropped many laps down in this race. Here is the battle for 22nd, by the way. David Ralston is at the front of it. Then it's Marcelo Otero, Davide Tattari, Melo de Graaf, Robert Walker, and Zeno Pellegrino, all involved in this battle. And the thing with these battles a bit further down towards the back is that they are actually likely to fight each other, unlike towards the front where everybody's got a strategy to run and realizing that before the final stint in the race they don't really need to fight, and they don't, but these guys do. Have a look at that, down the inside from Walker on Otero, who makes contact. That was close. Excuse me, that's Tattari, not Robert Walker, that's Davide Tattari, excuse me, on Marcelo Otero. Melo de Graaf had the best view in the house, but Tattari couldn't get it done. Don't forget he had that spin on lap 1, and so it makes sense that he's coming through the field like this in towards the chicane. He is now going to get it done for 23rd rather.
Yeah, I love seeing that move into that final chicane, and he gets through there. He's got a little purple paint on his car, but he's continuing to press forward, still trying to make a recovery drive from that error earlier. That'll get him up to P15 here with about 40 minutes left. Plenty of time, really. He just needs to kind of keep it chill.
Oh!
Or not. And there's the commentator's curse. I could not have done that better, possibly. And he falls into the background there. And he had some help there, had a little tap. We may take another look at that, but it sure looks like he was blameless for that one. But we'll see after a second look.
It looked like Tattari missing his braking zone from just being on the wrong side of the circuit, really. It's not where the racing line is, obviously, on the right-hand side there. And you can lose track of it very quickly. And when you're battling side by side, you've always got to be wary of those who are just in front of you. And just broke a bit too late here, Tattari. Tried to lock it up and get it stopped in time before hitting Ralston, but he did go around. In the end, unfortunately, Marcelo Otero didn't have anywhere to go either, really. And he went into him as well. But it's been a difficult race so far for Tattari, and it's only got more difficult there. He made quite a short first stop as well, so he's got even more pain to take a bit later on in the day. So we go up to the teammates. George Gonzaga tracing down Andy Lundorf for ninth, by the way, but he's under pressure primarily from Dennis Kirikopoulos. To know that these guys are in 10th and 11th just shows you the strength of this field. It is a very, very competitive series indeed. The Radical Sim Racing European Championship, just over 1/3 distance here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, the average I rating in this group is will make your head hurt a little bit here, and George, I think, is probably feeling pretty good about running in the top 10 right now. If he can push up a little bit more, he'll be even happier. And here's a little side-by-side action still this late into the race. We're 22 minutes in, and those side-by-side fights are still going on. And is that Hulkinen that we're focused on there? He almost lost 2 positions in 2 corners there. Got a little loose coming through the hairpin and is still getting some pressure from behind. And who is that? That's Oderholt sniffing around behind Hulkinen. So Hulkinen is having his eyes forward and in his rearview mirror, trying to make something happen up front and trying to defend. Holy cow, good stuff.
And with all respect to the others, I think they are going to find it difficult to pass Timo Bremer. Don't forget, Bremer had that spin at turn 11 and 12 earlier on in the day, but Hulkinen is still giving it a go. Even despite that, he doesn't care about Bremer being out of position. He wants to take his position through Dunlop curve. And that was a bit of gravel being kicked up as well by the driver in front. So Hulkinen is going to have a possible chance at turn 11. Although not close enough. Next in line, by the way, in 18th is Christopher Oderholt in the green. Then Louis Gray is at the back end in the darker livery in 19th place with a bit of a view on everything here, although he's got a much better run there than Oderholt, and he might well work his way through. They are in the same class, so this would be worth a fight if Oderholt wants to keep the place. And in the end, he doesn't need to actually fight Louis Gray off. He's just seen him off anyway before the fast chicane. And so he's 18th, but Louis Gregg's just giving him the flash of the lights there.
Yeah, so critical to get a good exit out of turn 12, and there's a couple spots on this track that just require perfect timing of getting back on the power. You have to be patient. You can't be too soon, and you can't be too late. And you saw, and here's a move. There is Greg now. He's stuffing it inside of turn 1, getting a move done there for P18, and feeling brave now. About 36 minutes left, and people are starting to plan their end game, and Greg not waiting around and is looking ahead now. I guess that is going to be Hulkinen will be his next target. So Greg elbows out through turn 1 that time.
Yeah, missed the apex a little bit. And if Otto was really going to sort of find his way around the outside there, fight his way around, then he could have been shoved off and he could have been arguing a bit of a case there. But in the end, Greg will get away with that. Broke a bit too late, but he'll remember that for next time. Hulkinen is on the podium in the Amp, by the way, as things stand, so it's a pretty big place for him to be in. So far, compared to the others, he's done roughly the same amount in the pit lane as well. In fairness, some of those around, especially like Meadow de Graaf a bit further down, have done a bit longer in the pit lane. But as far as a battle for the podium in the AM class goes, it is going all right for Hulkinen, who comes in today 6th place, or tied 5th if you like, with Davide Tattari in the point standings. This, meanwhile, is Lasse Sorensen trying to regain places from his difficult start to this one. At the moment, he's 7th, although his pit stop was a bit shorter than some of those he's overtaken, like Sikorsky and Lendorf in the next 2 places behind him. Now he's looking for 6th, though, down the inside on Sebastian Lipp, who's been pretty facilitating of overtakes so far this season. And there was another. Sorensen is now up to 6th.
Yeah, Sorensen looking really good on the brakes there. And if you're not familiar with these cars, just a quick reminder, these things are putting down 450 horsepower. They weigh in at about 1,000 pounds less than an MX-5 Mazda Cup car. So they are little monsters, and they have no traction control and no anti-lock brakes. So that time you saw that driver hard on the brakes, downhill into that very tough low-speed right-hander, and that takes a lot of skill, folks, to get these cars woed up under the best of circumstances, and that is a difficult entry right there. So really good work by Sorensen as he continues to press forward, and we'll see whether or not that undercut helps him in the long run. He's already back up to P6, but I got to say, the group in front of him, Barry, Friedrich, Gullickson, Tavara, and that next train, about a 2-second gap up to catch up to them, but none of those guys are going to be easy to pass, so he has got his work cut out for him in the next 35 minutes.
Still quite a long way to go when you, certainly if you're having a long day, having a difficult start to the race, you look up and see over half the race remaining. Goodness me, it's a long way to go. Oscar Sotero is probably one of those feeling like that right now. He had a spin through turn 2, and he's still recovering those places. Luke Crowley is next up, and you might think, if these two are in separate classes, then why does it really matter? Well, they are all scoring points from the same system here. It's an overall point system in the Radical Sim Racing European and America's Championships, and so you've got to make those overtakes, even if they are on AM drivers, and you'd imagine that Oscar Soltero is going to have a go at doing that down in towards turn number 1. Out of the final corner, they now come, and surely this is going to be a chance for Soltero. In fact, Crowley doesn't even move over to defend, but no, Soltero stays behind and very obviously saves fuel there.
Yeah, interesting there. Interesting there for sure. Crowley, no way was he going to contest that. He's sitting on P2 in his class. He probably has a feeling that Soltero behind is quicker, didn't defend at all. And I think he probably expected Soltero to make a move there. He might have been a little surprised that he's still behind him. So yeah, you may be right, and there may be a little fuel saving in mind here by Soltero. Crowley is certainly not slow. As we saw at Long Beach, he finished well up into the pro field and into the top 10. So Soltero might be content just to sit behind him here for a little while, get in a rhythm, do a little bit of fuel saving. And every liter of fuel you save, the gas does not go in these cars fast. So every liter of fuel that you save is significant time on pit lane. And that may be what is on Soltero's mind right now.
Yeah, I think what we saw towards turn 1 there was very telling as to what he's going to do for the remainder of this race. Well, not this race, but certainly this stint, I would have thought. He was lifting off from a very long way out. I didn't think much of it when we saw it in towards the fast chicane, actually. You can forgive him at any stage in the race, even if it's the last lap, for not wanting to go side by side through there. But turn 1 was certainly an odd one. So there's the lift off through the fast chicane. That seems sensible to me, especially at this stage. But what about in towards turn 1? Is he going to? I'd imagine he's going to do it again and save, or try and save even more fuel.
Yeah, and the draft is so strong on these cars. He's saving a significant amount of fuel, and like I said, the fuel goes into these cars through a straw. So every liter you save adds up at the end. And yeah, he's certainly tipped his hand now. Soltero content to sit behind Crowley for the time being, and we'll see how long he does that. You got to think that if you're giving up that pace in exchange for fuel saving, you're going to commit to that. So Crowley may have company for the remainder of this stint.
Looks like it. Soltero looks like he's going to be staying there for a while. So shortest pit stops of the day so far, certainly around the 35 seconds in the lane kind of region. That came in the form of Davide Tattari, for example. He's not far behind these guys, although after his spin recently, he's also not that close. He will probably be in first for his final pit stop. He's filling that tank up quite a long way, actually, because he pitted quite a long time ago as well. Doesn't have many strategy options. Same goes for Robert Walker as well. Doesn't have many strategy options here. Mika Hulkkonen and Lasse Sorensen. Well, Lasse Sorensen actually will be out there for not very much longer either, actually, as well. But Hulkkonen and Hawlings, despite coming in at the same time, did actually put a few more laps of fuel in, so they should be able to go a little bit further. There is Hulkkonen, just on the back of Ivan Bremer, who's now 16th, recovering from that spin through turn 11 as we hit the halfway mark now, but he's very much hit a bit of a stall out here. He doesn't seem to be making too many inroads on the 15 cars still in front of him.
Yeah, and look at that timing tower. I'm just kind of noticing we had a couple of trains forming, particularly the one between P2 and P5. That's Javar and Tiberi. We're all within about a half second. That train has completely fallen apart. They're driving completely separately. Nobody's getting the benefit of the draft really anywhere in the field. So I guess that can happen. This is a longer circuit, but that pit sequence really busted up any kind of the close running that we had. What you're looking at right now is one of the closest gaps on the whole circuit, frankly. And you see that gap is down to about 0.3 or 0.4, but there are many intervals between these cars that are 2 seconds and higher, so the field really spreading out.
Adam Locke has been into pit lane now. 29 minutes to go. I guess if he's got that tank all the way up to the brim, I guess he could make it all the way home from there, because it's not actually very much longer than what there probably isn't very many more than 12 laps to go, or is it 14 laps in the officials this week? I can't remember. I think 14, isn't it? So there's probably just over 14 laps to go at this stage. It's probably close to 16, 18, but you'd imagine if Rock's got that tank full, he should be able to make it all the way home.
Yeah, at this point, with half an hour left, looking at my scrawled notes here, about 33 liters will do it. So the maximum fill is 40. Yeah, they're well within finishing right now. Anybody who goes in the pits right now will finish easily. And looking at Locke, his first stop was only 31 seconds. So he did not take a full fill. And we'll see what his time is here and whether or not that hurt or helped him taking a short fill early.
This is Tatari, who's on the back of Nozio Pellegrino in number 11. And Tatari didn't get the exit out of turn 12 he needed there, really, as he got himself onto the back straight through the turn 13 kink, which really isn't a corner. And I just wonder, with that pit window looming, as you say, and him running out of fuel, whether he will start to think about ducking onto pit lane. No, he's going to try and use the low fuel to make some overtakes, which I can certainly see the logic of, but you just wonder whether it might be better spent pitting in early and getting some clean air.
Yeah, so many variables, and I'm sure some of these drivers are running with support and are running with a human crew chief helping them and giving them advice. I'm equally sure that some of them are going solo. You see a little move and a little love tap there into turn one. So much action there. There's a reason those grandstands are there, folks. There's action there in every type of race series that runs here, and you saw a little bit of it there. Yeah, it's when you're sitting in the car alone with no one on comms with you, giving you advice, watching the stuff around you. Oh, and Tatari picking up a black flag there. He may have crossed the incident limit there. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can find some more information on that for you, but that is a surprise. Tatari getting hit with at least a drive-through.
Well, he has had a number of spins so far. He made contact at turn one, as we saw earlier, and there was a bit more side-to-side contact there, which I wonder whether that might have been a 4X with this car here. Nunzio Pellegrino, whether that side-to-side contact was worthy of a 4X. I think it's a little bit harsh for it to be a 4X if it was, but it looks like that's what actually happened. As further up, Rudolf Nagel and Sori Reitinen are exchanging places, because Reitinen was going around the inside of the final corner to come into pit lane. First of the top 15 now into the pit lane at the time. You can't imagine that Lasse Sorensen will be able to go actually too much further before he will have to come into pit lane. Don't forget, he made his first stop pretty early.
Yeah, interesting, and we'll keep an eye on his pit time as he fills. And here comes Tatari, and I'm not sure what penalty he got. It may just be a drive-through. Oh my goodness, and there's Pellegrino trying to bubble through the inside there onto the front straight. A little bit of contact, doesn't get the move done. And who is Pellegrino looking for there? That's Stensrud he's looking at. He's going to try him again here in turn one. Shows his nose on the inside, not close enough. Stensrud will hang on to that one for now, but Pellegrino bubbling over there, trying to push his way up into, that would put him up into P26. Fights going on up and down this field. That's one of the great things about these radicals. If you're fighting for P1 or fighting for P30, these guys are always game to put on a good show for us. So more good racing here towards the back of the grid.
Yeah, that was tight into the final corner, very tight between those two. In the end, Pellegrino has to stay where he is with 25 minutes still to go. Almost all of the top contenders still yet to come into pit lane here in this race. And as a result, they're pretty unwilling to fight with one another as well. Even Oscar Soltero, who pitted really early and is on the back of an AM driver, is not quite willing to make an overtake. Surely he can't go too much further, although the longer he spends behind Crowley, the more fuel he seems to be saving in that car. And you will have seen it on the way towards that fast chicane. He was lifting off a bit before the actual braking zone itself. So down towards turn one, he'll do it again here, unless he's had a change of heart. And there you go. There's the answer. Yeah, it has been a quiet race, I've got to say, in the top 15 so far. But you just get the feeling it might liven up towards the end as well, because so far these drivers have been far more worried about their pit strategy, I think, than wheel-to-wheel racing.
Yeah, they really have, and I'm so surprised to see that train up front break up, and that's kind of the wild card in the pit strategy. Like I was saying, if you know that everybody's going to fill up and everybody hits the pits using the same technique and with the same amount of skill, they should come out of the pits at the same interval that they went in, but that certainly didn't happen this time, and massive gaps developing between all the cars. Look at our timing tower there. Lip is driven off, got a 5-second gap, and here's back to Soltero behind Crowley, and yeah, he's committed to fuel save, and Tavaren's got 2 seconds back to Gullickson, then 3 back to Friedrich, then 3 back to James Berry. So this is really kind of turning into an individual event here at Nürburgring, and I'm a little surprised by that. These tracks with the long straightaways tend to suck the cars together, and little groups will form up, mini trains will form up, but it just is not happening in this race. And here's another good look at that corner onto the back straight. So critical to get a good exit here. And I don't think Crowley is really holding up Soltero. They're both running about 49.5s, which isn't blazingly fast, but obviously Soltero satisfied.
Now we have got some of the leaders in here. Christoph Lipp is into pit lane with Christoph Travain as well. Now, how long are the pit stops going to be here for the respective drivers? There's Lipp towards the end of pit lane, if you look hard enough, and Travain chasing after him there in the green as well. So just a little bit shorter than Travain in the pit stop, but that's not good news for Christoph Lipp. He's found himself behind Crowley and Soltero, and while this is not Long Beach and you won't find yourself in traffic quite so badly, it's not so much of a problem. It could hold him up just a little bit here, and that could be enough to get Havok Gullickson into the fight.
Yeah, Gullickson with a huge smile behind that his helmet. He cannot believe the bad luck on Lip right there, coming out behind this little duo that we've been following through much of this one. And Lip is quite a bit faster, probably a second or more faster than these two. They're going to be seeing a blue flag right now. I think, unless this is going to be for position. No, this is for position. No blue flag. And are they going to make Lip fight his way through there? Wow, what a turn. We were waiting for some drama coming out of this that might involve Christoph Lipp. It looked like he was driving away, and my goodness, a pit sequence giveth and taketh away, and it has absolutely taken Lipp to the woodshed right here. He needs to get past these guys. He needs to get past them now.
Absolutely he does, especially if Gullickson's going to carry on for another couple of laps. He's certainly carrying... Oh, no, he's not carrying on for another one. Excuse me, I missaw that. He dived in the lead there. So, Havok Gullickson now pits in. Soltero and Crowley... Soltero seems to be pushing Crowley almost in towards the fast chicane, but now there's a lift-off. Now there's more time loss. This could be bad news for Lipp, and they're staying in front of him here. Even if Gullickson is behind him, this could be bad news. Let's see. As Gullickson now does come to a stop, he'll start to get his service. Lipp has got to hope that this service is long enough here. He is towards the end of pit lane. He's still ticking upwards though, and he's going to be behind him, well behind him in fact, but Lipp has got to get through on these guys. Down the inside of Soltero. He's very close to clipping Crowley as well. He's tight on the inside as the lap car stays out their way. Lipp gets past one. Now he's got to do Crowley as well. Luckily for him, he's still got 4 seconds in hand.
Wow, and look at Lipp. He knows that his race is on the line right now. He is rolling the dice a little bit with these other drivers, and again, no blue flag. They are perfectly within their rights to play defense here. Frankly, if I was in the car and I saw my Christoph Lipp's name on my relative, I would get out of the way sooner rather than later, but Lipp gets it done, and he needs to light the fuse now. He's got a big gap ahead of him. James Berry, notably, among the leaders, is still out. Kyriakopoulos and Gonzaga out still as well. And looking at those pit times, it looked like Lipp and Gullickson had very similar times in the pit. So we'll see how that unfolds when they get close to each other again. Lipp would seem to have the advantage right now.
Bramer. Sorry, off in the background.
Sorry, go ahead.
Bramer there was, and how he didn't even lose any time there is remarkable. That's the fastest 2 corners on the circuit, by the way. He kept it floored though in the grass, crossed up, and he's still in 9th place.
Holy cow. That's what I get for looking at my timing tower and trying to do fuel math in my head. I missed the good part, but my goodness. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Lip, and Lip certainly has it in him to light the wick here. His fast lap so far is a 148.3, and quickly looking up and down, it looks like he has the fast lap currently, and that's certainly consistent with what we've seen him do in the past. He's over 7K rated. Oh, whoa. Oh, my goodness. And a clencher there. That Radical, I got to tell you, does not like being in the grass, going over the bumps like that. And what a save. That was and great cam work by our producer, Hugo, on that one. Fantastic stuff again.
What a lunatic. That was outrageous. Bramer did not even lift there at all through the fastest corner on the circuit while he was in the grass sideways. That is outrageous. You'd think as well, with him having enough problems today, that he would have done, but no. Anyway, he's still 8th for now. He does have another stop to make, and in fact the top 4 still do. In case you're just joining us, this is not how the field is going to be later on. We have still yet to have a pit stop from the top 4, and also Luke Crowley, the second place currently. Oscar Soltero and Ewan Bramer behind him haven't been in yet. Neither has Christopher Otherholt, who we just saw get overtaken there by Andreas Friedrich. Further down, we're still waiting for Tavera, Otero, Menno de Graaf to come in. So these two are not really fighting for 15th place, although they are fighting for a legitimate position because they have made the same amount of stops. We're still waiting for Christensen and Rosden and Benson further down to come in as well. There's still plenty of stops to go with 17.5 minutes to go. You would say that Christoph Lipp holds the advantage though in this race, as into the pit lane comes James Barry. He's unlikely to be anywhere near Christoph Lipp here, but you never know. So we will keep an eye on this. Lipp is at the front of the group, so he gives him a much more easier time of things, just responding to anyone coming in from the front, like James Barry and Dennis Kirikopoulos. I think if there's anyone who's got a chance, though, it will be James Barry, if you can have a really short pit stop down on pit lane there. Christoph Lipp will get through, though. It's not a very long stop. No, sorry, the time is just briefly frozen. It is continuing to tick upwards. Barry gets behind Gullikson. So at the moment, Christoph Lipp is leading ahead of Christopher Travain. Then it is Garrett Gullikson. Then Friedrich, who's actually just gone ahead of James Barry.
Yeah, and looking at the people who have been in twice, looks like very little change, and it looks like despite having really horrible luck with traffic there, Lipp is going to maintain that gap once we reshuffle after this next pit sequence. Looks like Lipp's going to be sitting on a 3 or 4 second gap with space in front. So Lipp looking good. He has done really well managing this race, keeping it clean, keeping it smooth, and keeping his cool when he ran into traffic and getting done what needed to be after getting some probably unexpected defense from a couple guys running outside the top 10.
This is even further back to that group where people haven't stopped yet, and Yasuo Otero is going to be taking a couple of extra trips down pit lane, one to make his final stop and one to serve a black flag by the looks of things. I must admit, JR, I've never driven Nürburgring, not in the Radicals or any car in iRacing. Actually, I don't own it. Well, not this version anyway. What is the off-track situation in terms of how easy it might be to hit the instant limit here today?
You know, I really can't think of anywhere. I mean, no place obvious. The place that I tend to have the most problem is turn 1, because I like to kind of cut the apex there, and I sometimes get a little bit too much of that. But you know, this is not one of those tracks that has those off-track traps that you fall into. I guess the next candidate would be where we saw our buddy, the rally driver, going sideways after the Schumacher S's. If you go fast through there, you can go a little wide on exit and end up out there in the grass as he did. And I guess that's probably the most likely place for most people to pick up little 1X's. But I'm kind of leaning toward contact probably being the culprit behind people who are racking him up out here.
Yeah, the 2 black flags we've seen so far have been from drivers who have been starting down in the midfield and have stayed rather in the midfield throughout the race as well. So that maybe is the explanation more than anything. So you can get to an incident limit 4 times as quickly if you're just making car contact compared to off tracks, which are just 1X. I do own the north side, by the way. I'm not a complete complete weirdo. I just didn't have the Grand Prix attachment to it. So there we go. Over with Oscar Soltero through this group that is gently being stretched apart actually by Christoph Lipp out front. He's set to retake the race lead, and at the end of these 14 minutes he might well be very pleased indeed with his first couple of rounds, because it was second place at Long Beach after a late pass on Havard Gulliksen. This time round no late pass should be required. Looks like he's going to take victory, although Christopher Travain looks like he might well take second place. He's certainly running net second right now behind Ivan Bremer for sixth place. Here he is into the fast chicane. I think Travain is just hoping more than anything that Bremer just pits in and he doesn't have to make an overtake in the race, and there his wish is granted. 13.5 minutes to go. Travain with a bit more clear air now.
Yeah, Travain looking good, and despite all the jumbling that we saw there from these asynchronous pit sequences, we'll call them, very little disturbance up front. And I think you're right. It is going to be Lipp from Tavern, from Gulliksen, from Friedrich, from Barry, and that's kind of the top five that we've been living with here for the majority of this race. Sebastian Lipp working his way up into P6. That's not much movement. Krakopoulos, Gonzaga, Reitinen, Nagel. So our top 10 pretty stable throughout this one. There's been some mixes of traffic that can lead to problems. It can lead to some shuffling, but we haven't really seen much of that, and no pit errors, which is good to see. Every now and then you see a car go up on jacks during one of these and you go, oh no, somebody forgot to uncheck their tire box, because no tire changes are necessary in this one, and if you forget, it takes an eternity to swap tires on these. So very clean outing, as we should expect from this level of drivers. Really good stuff. And here's Gonzaga taking a look around the outside of Reitinen, side by side. He'll have the inside line to this next right-hander. Oh. And is George going to make something happen here? And this one's not over. He's going to have another opportunity down here at the hairpin. This is probably the second biggest braking zone, and a little smooch there. Oh my goodness. Reitinen giving him a kiss, maybe a little more contact, and great fighting there between Reitinen and Gonzaga. I thought for sure that George had that one done, but Reitinen saying no, not so fast, as they head into the Schumacher S's.
Yeah, he did the difficult bit going around the outside at turn 6, did Gonzaga, but actually the inside at 7 and then 8 was actually where it came undone for him, rather bizarrely. And so he doesn't get 14th place this time round. It should be, I think, even maybe for a top 10 place this between these two drivers, because there's still quite a lot of drivers up ahead to stop, although with so little time remaining, it's hard to know what's going to happen. And if they battle like this, they aren't going to get those places. That's round the outside through the fast S's there from Gonzaga. Fantastic. Reitinen couldn't do anything about that, although he is giving it another go through the final corner, and Gonzaga was maybe overly generous there in giving him an inside route back into this fight again. This battle for 14th place. Spectacular overtakes. Attempts previously from Gonzaga, now an actual overtake into the final chicane. Here comes Reitinen on the reply, outside line in towards turn number 1. He'll have the inside at 2 and 3. Will he be able to get that place back again? This is the kind of battling we've been waiting to see, and nearly 50 minutes into this race we've got one for 14th place. Gonzaga still holding it on the outside, which he seems to be very good at doing, but eventually he has to give it up and he has to try all over again.
Oh my goodness, what a move by Gonzaga. You know that he was watching you and your Friday broadcast with Ron Mons and saw Andre Castro make that outside move into that fast chicane work. That was epic. Folks, that is the move of the day. You have no idea the bravery that is involved to even consider that, much less stick it in there and come out the other end. That was amazing.
That was fantastic. Great racing between the two of them. Great respect shown as well. And Rudolf Nagel is closing as a result, by the way. Ivan Bremer only 2 seconds further back. If it continues, then they're going to be right there as well. Meanwhile, Sotero finally passes Luke Crowley. Surely that means he's coming in. It does, yeah. I thought that might be the case. Sotero has been using him effectively for almost as a refueling tank whole way through with his slipstream. And Sotero now finally comes into pit lane after overtaking him right at the very end. And now they will come out a bit further down the field. Lendorf then is the only driver out front still yet to make a stop. Lipp, Travain and Gulliksen should be 1, 2 and 3 as out of the pit lane will go Sikorsky, he's just made his stop in 7th. He's comfortably in the AM lead. Just seen AM 2nd place. Crowley come into pit lane. There's Manager Graf. That will allow Rettinen and Gonzaga a bit further up the field. Bramer's trying to catch them. Nagel is no longer about. Where's he got to? Rudolf Nagel. Because he was right, but he's now side by side with Sotero. On that last lap, he's been to an off track because the timing screen, to me anyway, is all over the place. He's side by side with Sotero now, is Rudolf Nagel. They're not that far away from Rettinen and Gonzaga, I suppose. And Nagel does indeed hang on just about from Soltero, who, to be fair to him, is in the fight. And considering he had a spin through turn 2, this is actually a pretty decent recovery from him.
It is. He wanted that one, though. I feel his frustration there at Nagel. That was the moment where we saw whether his fuel strategy was going to pan out. He did have a pretty short stop there. Looks like it was only 31 seconds as compared to Nagel in front of him at 36. George Gonzaga in front of him had 36. And that worked out for him. It worked the way that he wanted. But, man, just a split second late coming out of the pits and could not get that one more position. It's not over, but I think he would have preferred to come out of there ahead of Nagel in P12.
Lendorf is in from the lead. That's the final driver to pit in. Not quite through the whole field, but through the top 15 it is. Eric Benson is yet to make a pit stop as well. Here is the number 55, allowing Christoph Lipp now to lead. Christopher Terrain will be second, just under 3 seconds behind. David Gullikson just over 5 seconds behind Lipp is third, ahead of Andreas Frederick. Then it's James Barry, his teammate. None of those fighting, though, inside the top 5, unfortunately. This is where the battling is likely to be. Rettinen is getting away from Gonzaga now after the challenges earlier. Gonzaga will be looking over his shoulder here and maybe accepting that the top 10 may not be today. Rudolf Nagel and Oscar Soltero keeping him company with 7.5 minutes to go. Down the front straight they go. And Soltero is going to struggle here with Nagel getting the slipstream from Gonzaga as well. It would have to be late on the brakes. It wasn't late enough, although Nagel was clearly concerned enough just to bring the car over by a car width or so in towards turn 1.
Yeah, Nagel with some defense there, and the way that corner is, you'd kind of think that you might be able to set up an over-under there with Nagel taking that shallow entry, but you saw that there wasn't anything that Soltero could do with it. There is some time left, but it's ticking down, and you know that Soltero is just cursing under his breath, thinking about running into Nagel on that pit exit, and I don't think he's going to be satisfied with this. We're going to see another move between these two before this is over.
Yeah, I think this is where the action's going to be, to be honest, for the remainder of this race. Soltero has been a good bet for action so far, I've got to say, in this race. Round 2 of the Radical SimRacing European Championship. This, meanwhile, is Christopher Terrain, who, away from our cameras, has spun out of second place. The race winner from Long Beach was having a decent day, and he would have been pleased with his first 2 races if it had ended how he was running in second place. But that's a rare, unforced error that has seen him scrape the wall. And now all of a sudden, he's got to fight even to keep 4th place. James Barry is very quick, and he's going to want to punish Terrain immediately here. He can't let him get settled there, just in front of the 10 car. And so Barry will want to attack immediately, although he can't quite do it in towards turn 1.
Wow, and that is a wild error from Taverna, and that's one of those spots I've been talking about where you have to be patient to some extent, but you also have to put the hammer down. That's an important exit onto that long straightaway. Taverna getting in the power too early, and you saw him over-rotating that car, and when you spin these things up under power, those rear tires get hot, and you lose grip for a little while until things calm down back there. So Barry has a chance right now. He knows it, and if he's going to make something happen, he needs to make it happen now before Taverne's tires recover.
Looks like he might already be too late, really, but that doesn't mean he can't get through in open play, as it were, as well. Doesn't mean he can't make an overtake anyway. He'll certainly be giving that a go in the final 5 minutes of this race. Should be 3 laps to go when they get to the line. Depends a little bit where Christoph Lipp is, but should be another 3 laps. This is the end of lap 30, by the way, in this second round of the championship. Here, meanwhile, is further down. This is Christopher Otto. This is Hulken, who's behind Otto, and then Adam Locke trying to get past him. Locke made the first of the final pit stops, by the way. He, as we noted earlier on, though, he can make it to the end. He'll be looking for this 18th place, and it's been quite a quiet race really from Adam Locke in the 555. He'll want to make this final overtake before this race is complete, but as is the case with everybody right now, he will be running out of time.
Yeah, time definitely ticking down, and this is the part of the race where you know how many laps you have left, you know where your opportunities are. Maybe you take a couple of test pokes here and there, show your nose, see how the driver in front reacts, and decide whether or not it's worth the risk. And there's no easy passes here, with the possible exception of turn 1 if you get that good run. And here it is. There is that exit I was talking about. You got to get it right. It's so tough right there. And almost turned into a change of positions right there as Hulkinen feeling the pressure.
Oh, meanwhile, this is our battle we were looking forward to early on for 11th, and Gonzaga has had to throw his first defensive shape in earnest there in towards turn 1. Rudolf Nagel giving him a hard time that time round, with Oscar Soltero watching on behind. Meanwhile, Sikorsky has rather given up 6th place to Sebastian Lipp. That's an inter-class battle, and so I can't imagine Sikorsky was too worried about that, especially considering he's got 6 cars between him and his nearest AM rival. In fact, he's more than 15 seconds ahead of Luke Crowley in second place in the AM field. Through the S's, these guys come for 11th. Gonzaga's got a very long 3 laps coming up here. He is going to be on the real defensive towards the end, because there's plenty of chances, as we know, in these cars to overtake at this circuit.
Yeah, he does have his work cut out for him. And one thing that we do know about George is that he is cool, calm, and collected. He's not going to fight something that is high risk. And there is a problem. There's a lot going around behind Raikkonen. We thought that a move was developing there, and Raikkonen now, or Hulkinen rather, is now safe from that one. And now we'll jump back up to this situation. I'm not sure who we're looking at right now.
This is 11th again. This is Soltero. So just up ahead is the sort of yellowy and black of George Gonzaga, then the actual yellow SimRC, iconic SimRC livery of Rudolf Nagel, and then Oscar Soltero in the Nick Sports livery, which you may have seen around on RaceSpotTV in the past as well, by the way, the orange. Out of the final corner, these 3 pretty evenly spaced. Are there any chances to overtake this time? I'm doubtful. Certainly Soltero is quite a long way back, but he's gaining pretty quickly towards the end. And this is the penultimate lap here, so they are running out of time, especially if Soltero wants to overtake both of these guys. He's definitely running out of time. Gonzaga, though, doing a good job at defending, and right now holding on to 11th.
Boy, and you can really see that draft going to work here. If Soltero wants to make something happen, he knows what he's going to have to do, and that is to get a good exit out of that last corner onto the front straight to put himself in position, take advantage of that slipstream, and maybe get a twofer there into turn 1. It sounds crazy, but this draft is so strong in these cars. 2-for-1 passes can happen at the end of some of these longer straights due to the speed differential that develops on the run down. So we'll see what is on Soltero's mind. Does he want to roll the dice, or does he just want to stay happy with his lucky P13 today? And we're going to find out here shortly.
Certainly are. That was a little bit out of shape on the brakes there, and understeer through the Dunlop hairpin. Soltero was really struggling with that front left. I wonder whether the tyres are slightly going away from him now in this one. The track temperature's up to 25 degrees, by the way, which is a few degrees increase on what we saw earlier on. I can't imagine that's having a huge effect, but it was certainly understeer for Soltero through that corner that time round. In the background, Crowley is holding off Ivan Bremer for 14th place in the field. Here is Bremer, and just up ahead there's all sorts of traffic in front of these guys, but it is Ruckton and Kira Kapoulos, the 2 of them in 9th and 10th. They're not very far in front, so pretty close battles, but the white flag is waving this time round, and overtakes are going to have to happen now or never as we get on to the last lap of this race.
Yeah, riding along with Bremer here. He's going to go under the timing tower, his last opportunity, and a little too far back, it appears to me, and taking a peek up front in the frame. Yeah, not seeing any shuffling with that group of Gonzaga, Nagel, and Soltero. So these folks may have just decided that they landed where they've landed. Not a lot of opportunities left. Just get it home clean. And there's somebody out. That is Sikorsky. That is your AM leader. He's had an off. May have hit the barrier. He was way off the track track there, and he's not really. Oh, he's off again. Oh no, sorry.
Yeah.
That is a replay. Take a breath, James. But Sikorsky, he's still safe from Crowley, I think. But every car that sneaks past him, as Ewan told you, it's overall points here. So every car that sneaks past him, he's losing points in the season championship. And man, oh man, the last lap, you don't want that stuff to happen. But you're right, Ewan. These tires go off throughout the course of the race, especially the fronts. The cars tend toward understeer. As we watch Lip here, he's heading through that fast chicane for the last time, coming around that last corner, coming onto the pit straight, and he is going to take the checkered flag by 5 seconds, walking away. What a great, well-managed race by Lip. But yeah, the front tires, to continue my point, definitely go off in these, especially if you don't take care of them. And this track doesn't have a lot of trail braking opportunities, so it's hard to take care of the fronts, and they are screaming by the end.
It's Christoph Lipp who will take the championship lead and the race victory as well here from the Nürburgring. Out of the final corner as well for Franz Sikorsky, despite a real scare on the last lap. He takes victory, pretty stony-faced as well. I would have liked to see his reaction at the end there. It looks like more relief than anything, doesn't it, as he crosses the line in 8th. He takes the victory in the AM class here today. And as I mentioned, a long way ahead of Crowley in the overall standings, which means he'll really benefit in the points. There's Louis Gregg holding on to 3rd place in the AM class, just ahead of Christopher Otto as well. They're actually having a decent fight, those two. Gregg getting through fairly late on for 16th place. For the man who finished in 4th place last time out, it's a 3rd place finish and a first podium for Louis Gregg, as it was for Sikorsky as well. Crowley finishes on the podium, the only one to do it twice. He will retain his championship lead coming out of the Nürburgring. Further down in the field, this is the 23rd in the field. Christensen and Walker, with Robert Walker firing down the inside. Oh, wow. You don't see late moves like that very often at the final corner, but it is the last lap, I suppose. So you're going to give it a go, aren't you? And that is Menno de Graaf running slowly. And did they both get a place there? No, I don't think they did. It was very close, but Menno de Graaf has clearly been in the wall somewhere. He was limping to the line. Oh, he was hit. He was hit by someone into the wall. For some reason, he was going slowly. Well, I don't know why he was going slowly, but anyway, he crawled over the line and in the end didn't actually lose out very much.
Wow, and a wild incident there. I'm not sure, was somebody trying to make a move there on that last corner, and we almost saw Walker catch Christensen napping there. He saw that checkered flag and left an opening. Oof. Yeah, and my goodness, he was not on the power there. I don't know if he was just relaxing, mesmerized by the waving checker flag, or out of fuel, or what, but definitely off pace there, and that's why he got tagged from behind and knocked into the wall. That was kind of a strange finish.
It was, yeah. But not for Christoph Lipp, to be fair. He dominated that race, really, winning by 5 seconds ahead of Favo Gulliksen, with Andreas Friedrich joining them on the podium. Christopher Turenne dropped from 2nd with that spin out of the hairpin, and so he loses his championship lead after winning at Long Beach. James Barry couldn't capitalise, even though he was on the back of Turenne briefly. He finishes 5th ahead of Sebastian Lipp and Anthony Lendorf, who got past Franz Sikorsky. That spin on the last lap, he still won in the AM class ahead of Dennis Kirkopoulos and Sully Reitinen in the top 10. 11th place went to George Gonzaga, holding off Rudolf Nagel and Oscar Sortero as we were watching throughout much of the last part of that race. Luke Crowley kept Ivan Bremer behind for a 3rd place AM finish. Louis Gregg was 2nd place, excuse me. Louis Gregg was 3rd, ahead of Otto Holt and Hulkonen, who were 4th and 5th. Adam Locke and Stefan Cheveria round out the top 20. Joining them just over a minute off the lead was Menno de Graaf, who crawled over the line just ahead of Glenn Andre Christensen and Robert Walker. Josello Otero was quite low down for a Pro Unfortunately in 24th, ahead of David Broderston, just holding off from Ole Gunnar Stensrud. Then Stefan Mellis, Nazino Pellegrino and Eric Benson rounding up those on the lead lap. David Niemek rounded out or started those 1 lap down, along with Guy Robertson, David Itatari, who was in the wall today, and Henry Hawlings. Lasse Sorensen, Kjell Larsen, Mats Kjellström-Backen and Alexander Toftum-Skarret didn't get to the finish, or at the very least were many laps down by the end. Well, Christoph Lipp, the race winner here today, can immediately come and join us for a chat after the race. And congratulations, Christoph, on victory in round 2. It looked like you dominated that race. It looked like you were fairly comfortable as well. Just tell us how you were feeling out there in the car and whether it was as comfortable as it looked.
Yeah. Thank you. mega happy, of course, and had a nice race in the front without any fights, which feels good, obviously. But it was not comfortable or easy. You're pushing 33 laps to the maximum, and that's the result then in the end.
Were you expecting this from the Nürburgring? Because at Long Beach, it was obvious that early on in the race you struggled. Towards the end, you did really make some overtakes, but towards the beginning you struggled a bit. Were you expecting to go well here, though?
Yeah, I expected to be in a good position. I mean, also in Long Beach, but there I was a bit unlucky with a small hit and the damage. But here it was super clean. I think I didn't make hardly any mistake, and yeah, so I'm happy. The only critical situation was after the second pit stop when I came out behind Luke and I think it was Oscar, and the guys were fighting, and so I lost a bit of time there and I had to muscle through, but luckily that went well, and then in the end was cruising and then saving some incident points.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on managing those and managing the winning round 2. Hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Congratulations and enjoy the win.
Yeah, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Christoph Lipp there, the winner here tonight at Nürburgring. Second place here today is Harvard Gulliksen, who finished in, second, third place last time out, second this time round, and congratulations, Harvard, on that one. Second place, just 5 seconds behind the winner. Were you expecting, or shall I say, could you have done any more, rather, to get any closer to the race win here tonight?
No, then I needed to drive faster, and I wasn't able to. So Christoph Lipp was very fast today, and he deserved the victory, clearly. But I'm a bit gutted for Christopher Tveron in my team. He did a small mistake, and it cost him 2 places. But P4 is still a good result for him.
Yeah, especially with yourself in second place as well for the team all round. How have you found the season so far as a team? I know we're only 2 rounds in, but as a team, you were able to take a victory at Long Beach. You've been on the podium twice. Christopher, obviously 4th place this time round, but you must be pleased with a solid start to the season.
Yeah, we are very pleased. We do some trainings together and help each other out. So we try to reduce our weaknesses and work together as a team. So it's going very good.
Well, congratulations on your second podium in 2 races this season, Harvard, and thanks for chatting to us after the race as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Harvard Gulliksen in the second place here tonight. In first in the AM class was Franek Sikorsky, who survived a late scare to take victory in the AM class. Congratulations, Franek, on the win. Tell us about that last lap, though. We certainly weren't expecting to see you backwards, but how were you feeling?
To be honest, I didn't expect myself to drop and make a mistake. But that's unfortunately some things that happen when you are trying to push. Maybe I wasn't even trying to make the fastest lap of the race, but you know, it was just a sketchy moment and caught me off guard and couldn't keep it on track.
What are your plans for the season? Because you were mixing up with the pros quite well there in the opening part of this race. Are you going to be with us throughout the entirety of the season, going for the World Finals at the end? And what are you hoping to get from the season?
To be honest, it's my second ever race in Radicals, so it's kind of nice to see myself being close to some of the guys in pro category. Looking at that pace, I pretty much hope so that I could make it into the World Finals and achieve some pretty good positions in the rest of the season.
Well, we look forward to seeing whether you can achieve that. Congratulations on the win tonight, Franek, and thanks very much for coming to chat to us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That's Franek Sikorsky, the winner of the AM class here today, ahead of Luke Crowley, who finished in second to go along with the victory last time round. Congratulations, Luke, on the win. You were, on the second place. So I think about last round. You were in lots of battles though throughout the day. How did you find the race generally at the Nürburgring?
Yeah, not too bad. People pitting and coming out on different strategies and stuff. So it was just trying to go with the flow as much as possible.
How do you gauge your performances as an AM? Because you score points on an overall basis in this class, and that does mean you can lose quite a lot of points to somebody on any given day, like Sikorsky finishing quite a few positions ahead of anybody today, not just yourself. How do you gauge a good performance in the AM class with such unpredictability week on week, and you guys effectively, top guys especially, mixing it up with the pros in the end?
Yeah, I think you've got to take it if you're towards the top end of the AM class. I mean, Sikorsky's another level, but I think a top 15 in the race is pretty decent. It's all about the qualifying for the AMs. If you get towards the front, you can leech that slipstream off the guys in front. They really pull you along quite a lot. So you can get quite a lot of time there. I think that's what I got at Long Beach, because I had quite a gap. Here I wasn't quite so lucky on the qualifying, so I had to battle it out a little bit. But no, it's good fun, and I think I'm towards the point in the end again in the AMs, so I'm quite happy with that.
Well, congratulations on another solid points day in the AMs. As you say, you'll be top of the standings at the end of 2 rounds, that's for sure. Congratulations on that, and hopefully we'll see you at round 3.
All right, nice one. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much, Luke Crowley, second place here tonight in the AM class. Well, JR, it was a slow burner, I would say, but we got our battles towards the end, especially through that midfield just outside of the top 10. The battles eventually transpired here at the Nürburgring, but a very solid and dominant performance, actually, from Christoph Lipp here today.
Yeah, great job by Lipp, and really just race management. If you look at his best time compared to Gullikson, he's only about a little over a tenth quicker than Havard out there today, but 1/10 a lap times 32 laps adds up, and in this case, it added up to about a 5.5 second gap, and Lipp able to drive away. But he is a very highly rated driver. You can tell he takes a very professional and measured approach to these races, and you saw that unfold. You keep it clean, you keep it consistent, you keep it chill, and he ends up on the podium. And it's not easy to have an I rating north of 7K, and that's how you do it. And Lipp showed it in action today. And a tip of the hat to George Gonzaga for that move into that final chicane. I was waiting for that. We saw that on Friday at the race that you and Ron did, and I wanted to see someone roll the dice on that. And great move by George. He couldn't get it to stick, but I'm glad he tried it. That was hella entertaining.
Well, hopefully everyone will be able to join us again, and we'll see some of those exciting moves again at Suzuka in 3 weeks' time. 9 p.m. Central European time. Just a note to everybody outside of Europe that our clocks are going forward next weekend, or the weekend coming, so it might be a different time in your time zone. So check on the in 3 weeks' time on the RaceSpotTV YouTube channel, because we'll have the correct time, and we'll be ready to go for another round of the Radical Sim Racing European Championship in 3 weeks' time. In the meantime, make sure you check out our other Radicals broadcast on Friday night. We'll be at Road America on this coming Friday. Following that, a couple of days later, the Americas Championship, where you can see JR himself in action at Road America as well on the Sunday. So very much hope you can join us for one of those. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside JR Gregory with Hugo Louise behind the cameras here tonight on this RaceSpotTV broadcast of the Radical Sim Racing European Championship from the Nürburgring. From all of us here for now, it's goodbye.